Hello there. Welcome back to Empower Your Soul podcast. I am here today to talk about the theme of trust in working with spirit. And I know that I probably approached this a couple times already, but spirit has brought through several clients this week that are kind of in this metaphysical space that need to work on trust and trusting yourself. So it's just really interesting to me how we will have common themes as professionals, as readers, across readings, across a period of time. And isn't that pretty cool? But it's just so interesting to me because the theme this week has been trust. And literally when I connect and I tap into spirit a little bit before the readings, not like to cheat, just to check on the energies, check for anything that I should be paying attention to, or check in with my team about what's going on with the reading or anything, I need to adjust with my energy. And several of them had me write down the word trust at the beginning. Trust, period, specifically. And I know I've talked about this with validation, always needing external validation. I know I've talked about the obsession with evidence, but this one's going to go a little bit in a different direction because a lot of what we do, and this is going to be a little more practical, because a lot of what we do takes so much trust in what we're receiving, and obviously the vulnerability to actually say what we're receiving to our clients. And it is really hard to trust for those of you that don't do this work, because what spirit does is they will come in and use our own brain, our own thoughts, our own voices in our own head to give the information in a reading. Ain't that confusing, right? So some examples are, I will read a client and this will be a grandmother, and I'll be shown a picture of my grandmother's house during Christmas, for example, with the table all filled with food and all dressed up and all of the people around. But I will literally see in my head a scene from my childhood. And I have to take that scene and figure out what is spirit pointing at that I need to tell to my client. And maybe it's, here's where it gets really sticky, right? Maybe it's all the food on the table. Maybe it's the decor of it. Maybe it's the fact that everybody comes over and nobody sits down, everyone's talking. Maybe it's that it's really loud and there's children running around. And these are all examples that spirit has used in showing me Christmas at my meme's house. And every time I see it, I have to pick something new that I need to relay to my client. Yeah, it gets really confusing. And if you're not sure or you're learning how spirit works, it is really hard to, number one, understand that your brain accommodates or supplements the information we receive from spirit, because spirit's actually going to use our own brain, our own knowledge, our own biases, I'm going to put it that way, to do our readings, because the energy has to flow through us. It has to be part of our reality in order for us to do the reading. So that's why I can't get you crazy names that I don't understand, why I can't get you like addresses and phone numbers, because they're really hard. I don't have, I have the numbers in my brain, but bringing all those numbers together, bringing all these addresses together, it's really hard to do. And honestly, the amount of effort it's going to take me to get an address is not going to be worth it for spirit. They're going to go after stuff that's faster and that I can actually prove who you are. And by the way, I don't remember. I don't remember where my grandparents live. I don't know their address because I was little. So working with spirit, no matter what modality, psychic, mediumship, Akashic records, it can be very, very confusing to differentiate what is your brain versus what is spirit coming through. So I want to give you some tips today on feedback I give my students on how to help figure it out. So number one, I want you to know that this is a journey. You are not going to be 100% right at any point in your journey, in your work. I'm sorry, it just doesn't happen. And if you are 100% right, then you're not stretching and you're not getting uncomfortable and accepting of the evidence that you get, and you're not learning. So number one, be prepared to get it wrong. as you are starting to learn specifically, you are learning so many things at once in your energy. You're learning how to, number one, like raise your vibration to connect with spirit. You're learning how to clear your mind so that you know that it's spirit and not your brain. You're learning how spirit sends the energy into your system, into your energy, and how your body and your feelings and your emotions and your thoughts and your internal insides are interpreting that energy. So not only are you like trying to learn how to receive it, but then you're also learning how to interpret it and how do you get that information out of your mouth in a way. So when you're starting the mediumship journey, and I feel like spirit's gonna like knock me over the head with a mallet, but it is hard to stop. And I know that of all people, like to simplify things, and I don't think it's as hard as people let on, but it is a process to learn how your body feels. And I think that was really prevalent this week with my Talking to the Dead Beginners Mediumship group, because there was one woman who was there with me pretty much alone for the first hour or so, which was cool because we had some one-on-one time to really work together. But she had been, I hope you don't mind me saying the story, girl, but she'd been struggling a little bit with connecting with spirit. And I know she can do it. And I know it's just in her head. And she's just in her head. And she's like thinking about all the scenarios. So I literally started and I was like, lay it on me. What are all of the questions you're thinking about? What is going on in your head? Tell me where your head is at and what is going on in there with this work. So she asked me question after question after question. And I think that she just really needs to understand more about what happens on the other side. Like, how is spirit? What happens when they pass? Like, what are their experiences? What can they see? What can they not see? Like, and going through and answering just some, I'm going to say, not necessarily mediumship questions, but these are things that are going on in her head that is tripping her up and getting her stuck in this brain ego space. And that is hindering her ability to connect. So even though her questions were really not related to mediumship at all, it allowed her an opportunity to get some things answered that maybe were a little bit confusing for her and reduce that fear for her. And I don't know if it was legitimate fear, but I'm going to say removing some of that resistance for her so that she could really just take a breath and leave all of those thoughts and energies behind so she could show up to the class for spirit. And then, so if you have all these questions and you're a mediumship student, think about that. Like, if you're having trouble connecting, what is going on in your head? Because you don't just show up to learn how to talk to spirit normally. Like, when you show up in a mediumship 101 class, you have a million questions. What's the soul? What's a spirit? How did they know it's my grandmother? How do you receive the info? Right? There's so many questions with that. So don't be afraid to ask those questions if that's what's tripping you up and pausing your ability to be able to read these messages from spirit. So that's number one. Well, it's probably like number 7 at that point though. And then in addition, so get the answers. You're not going to be right. That was number 1. Number 2, get used to or clear out the energy or the questions that you have. That's step 2, right? And then step 3 is when you're connecting, you need to be open to how spirit is sending the information. So your teacher, whoever that is or was in the past, should be teaching you how to connect with spirit. But then what happens when you're actually connected with spirit, a lot of the students that I see get stuck in their head and they don't talk, right? Evidence from spirit should be like hot potato. You do not want to hold on to it. Imagine that the evidence that comes in is a potato that comes out of a 500 degree oven. I'm sorry, I don't know what the Celsius equivalent is, but it's coming out of the very hot oven and you're holding it with your bare hands. You're not going to sit there and look at it and analyze it and be like, oh, what's this potato? Is it an Idaho potato? Is it a Maine potato? Like, you're not going to do that. You're going to take it and you're going to throw it. And that's what I want you to do when you start connecting with spirit. I do not care if you are not right, because you're learning to move the energy through. You're learning how your body receives the energy. And the more that you push it through as fast as you can, the more spirit is recognizing, oh, I got to do this differently. Let me send it in this way. Let me send it in this way. Yeah. So that's where the trust comes in. And I see this over and over and over again with new students where they're bringing in spirit and I can see they're connected and I can feel they're connected to spirit, but they're not saying it. And instead they're receiving the information from spirit and they're taking it and they're leaving it in their head and they're thinking about it and they're analyzing it and they want to know the whole answer. What is the whole story with this one piece of it? What is the whole story with last night? This red Valentine's heart. What is the whole story with that? Tell me more. Help me understand. What's the context? Was there a birthday on Valentine's Day? Do you see hearts? It's all this stuff, but you can't hold on to it because you don't know. That's the whole point, is that we don't know. So the trust a lot of times is this ego space of wanting to know everything contextually about what you're receiving. But here's the kicker. The best evidence I've ever gotten, it has not come in feeling like it's going to be epic, amazing evidence at all. And it also comes in completely without context, but they can take it. And I think a really good example of this was my friend who, her former best, it's a relation, but essentially her best friend's mom had passed. And I think this was a social media post I did. And her mom had come through before the wake to my friend. I could probably name her. I'm not going to. And I'm trying to pull this information in, and it's just really sticky. It has nothing to do with her. I got kids running around. There's a lot going on, so I'm distracted anyway. But then I start talking about a woman in a belly shirt that most people would not want to see in a belly shirt. I'm going to say it that way, okay? I don't judge, but I'm just going to say most people would not be not a size, not a small size woman in a belly shirt. Right? So I can literally see the rolls in the belly. And that's all I could see. I could literally see from chest down to hips. And I could just see there were jean shorts, and there was a tube top or something with a belly top. I couldn't see the top of it, but I could see that the upper and lower were covered with clothing and the midsection was not. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do with this. Would you understand a woman that maybe is wearing a belly shirt that maybe shouldn't be? And I said it that way. I'm sorry. Don't come at me. That's how I phrased it. And she started rolling with laughter. I mean, she was in hysterics because she remembers a specific memory with this woman about being at a public pool and seeing that. And I don't know. I don't know what the scenario was, but she could take it and she completely understood it with the context of the spirit. If I had tried to reach for that, I would have gotten tripped up. I would have gotten things wrong. Instead of just me saying what it was and her being able to take it. So you never know what evidence is so important to your sitters. And for that reason, stop freaking judging the evidence that you get from spirit, because you never know. Everyone has their stories, their memories. Everyone has it, right? So think about and pause and think about all of the unique things. So think about a loved one that's on the other side, and think about someone you were close to. Think about all the really unique things you think a medium could come through or bring through as evidence that it might drive that medium crazy if they didn't understand the context of it. For me, and sorry if you can hear my kid, he really likes Queen. We Will Rock You right now. Just making some thumping noises. Think about that. So I'm going to give you some examples that are coming to mind with me and my family. An orange. Seems really dumb. An orange is big for me. I know exactly who it is when you say orange. Somebody with a let me see if I can pull out a couple more. Ice cream sandwich, know exactly who that is. You can say those 3 words, ice cream sandwich. I know exactly who that is. You can tell me grandfather without teeth, or an old man without teeth. I know exactly who that is. You could tell me so I'm trying to think about it. I'm going to ask spirit to come in and help me give you some really weird examples. Scoliosis. I would know that. I know who that is, right? Things like that. I'm sorry. I'm not very good at evidence. It's been a really long day, so please don't judge. But this is what I'm talking about. So think about these really weird things like mismatching socks, right? Or a certain type of car, purple Converse shoes that has come through in a reading before. Purple Converse shoes, nailed it. I think in my social media posts, spiders, people seeing spiders everywhere, nailed it. Could absolutely take it, right? Like, and it just seems so dumb when you're thinking of purple Converse shoes, of spiders, of all these random things that for you, you don't know what the context of any of that I just said was, right? But for the sitter, that is worth its weight in gold. So I just want to call that out, that trust has everything to do with you and not with the quality of your mediumship, because it's not trust. I know you trust the spirit. I know you trust the sitter. So why don't you trust yourself that you are doing your best to pull through the information that spirit's giving you, and just say it as fast as you can. So the more that you judge yourself and the more that you judge the information, the evidence, how it's coming in from spirit, the more you are going to continue to face resistance in your mediumship or other spiritual modalities, because the whole basis, the whole foundation of it is I trust what spirit's giving me, and I trust that I'm supposed to give this information. And if you're not honest in bringing through that evidence, you're never going to learn how your energy receives that energy from spirit. You're never going to learn the patterns of when you get it right and when you get it wrong. And when you get it wrong, you're never going to learn the patterns of how do I fix it? How do I make it better? What's a different approach I should take? I mean, this is just like riding a bicycle, you know, in some context, I guess, where you have to give it a try. You have to get on the bike. You have to start pedaling, and you're going to freaking fall. But what you're going to do is learn, oh, I shouldn't lean too far to the left. I'm going to fall. I shouldn't lean too far to the right. I'm going to fall. Oh, I need to pedal a little bit faster. Oh, my seat's too high. It's really uncomfortable. I can't touch the ground. So you're going to learn these nuances along the way, but you will not know these nuances or how to get better until you actually do it. So throw trust out the door. And I think Bashar had such an amazing social media post, because you're making a decision to either trust yourself or you're making a decision to not trust yourself. You're going to trust the distrust, right? I cannot compute this information, everybody. I cannot compute this. So are you going to trust yourself or are you going to trust the distrust? Either way, there's trust involved there. So you might as well just give yourself a leap of faith. And that is the mic drop that I'm going to leave you from spirit. Thank you so much. And I hope this was helpful. If you could, it would be super helpful if you could like, review, give me some ratings for this podcast so that other people can help find it too. And then as always, if you have any questions, anything I can help answer, I will continue to make these. But if you have anything you want me to talk about, toss it my way. I'd love to record it for you. All right. Keep on keeping on, everybody. I love y'all so much. Have a wonderful day.